Ole Miss needs to become almost a finished product in week 1 versus Georgia State.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Steven Willis, and we will bring in football insider Daylan Flowers in just a second from the Rebel Walk to discuss week 1 needs. Thanks, though, for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen. Please give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out. Always find a second listen on the network. Locked On Vandy and Corey Burton, or Locked On SEC and Chris Gordy is out there for you. But all in all, this is going to be a pretty good thing. Now, Daylan, the thing that I have is the needs that Ole Miss are going to have to see after week 1. Ole Miss needs to be almost a finished product. I know that's an impossibility, but you can't have a slow build like you had a year ago. They got to come out and get stuff figured out against Georgia State.
Yeah, you want to come out this weekend firing on all cylinders, and you want to completely just install the aspects that you've worked on this offseason into the game plan this week. You know, you want to go out there and have things figured out, whether or not you're 100% healthy at certain positions or not. Ole Miss has the chance to prepare early with this Georgia State game at home, but also build on that confidence and going into Kentucky and leave Lexington, Kentucky with a really big win. You know, I know Kentucky may not be a statement win for some teams, but obviously this is a Kentucky team that came to Oxford last year and beat Ole Miss. This is a road SEC game, which is never easy against any opponent. So Ole Miss is going to have their cuts cut out for them. But you know, you just want to see a efficient game from Ole Miss against Georgia State, a comfortable game. You want to limit the penalties, limit the turnovers, get Austin Simmons flowing early with some short passes just to get them comfortable, and then obviously over time let them air it out and you know, get the deep routes going. And you also want to combat some type of run game this weekend. You have to build the momentum if you're Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin within the run game this weekend to set the tone for the rest of the season. This weekend, you know, you have to focus on that, whether it's, you know, running Austin Simmons a little bit, you know, maybe putting Trinidad Chambliss in there a little bit and using him in the run game and obviously getting the running backs essentially in the run game. Those things are important. You want to be able to set the standard and the foundation this weekend to set the tone and to also allow Ole Miss to see what they can do better moving forward throughout the season. So really huge first game for Ole Miss. And, you know, a lot of pieces are moving around still, it seems, but it definitely is going to be a huge game for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin to set the identity for 2025.
You know, one of the needs that I have for this first game, and I figure we'll just go back and forth for some stuff that we want to see, but I want to see the run game. Lane Kiffin mentioned in his press conference that a lot of his offseason was kind of setting the goals of improving the run game, and they had a slow go with the injuries on the offensive line at tight end. Mm-hmm. But Ole Miss as a run game needs to be better off than it was a year ago, in my opinion. What say you?
1,000%. You know, you look back at the effective Lane Kiffin offense. It's not just at Ole Miss, but at FAU, at Alabama, at USC. They had effective run games. Whether you like it or not, you may get the notorious, you know, the Lane Kiffin offense is a passing offense. Well, yeah, it benefits when the running game is working effectively. And Lane Kiffin knows that. He's spoken about it a lot throughout the last couple months, and he's emphasized how important an improved running game from this year to last year is going to be vital. He noticed the struggles. He acknowledged the struggles and the moments that, you know, they messed up and they need an effective run game. It's not only going to be beneficial for the offense, but it's going to be beneficial for the defense. There are moments where you, as an offense, you can put your defense in much better situations when you have an effective run game. And when you don't, it stagnizes the offense and puts the defense in bad moments sometimes. So it's also going to be really important, which I think for me is going to be the biggest, you know, point this season, and especially in the first game, is how effective is Ole Miss in the red zone. I think it's going to be vital that they set the tone running the ball well to allow them to be a little bit more comfortable inside the 20-yard line, to do a variety of different things and use a variety of different guys. But if they're able to set the tone running the ball, I think they can effectively score points in the red zone. But how do they do that? Again, like you said, Steven, it starts with effectively running the game, running the ball, and you're going to have to become creative with it. This is why, I watched the practices over the last few weeks, and with some injuries, it seems at the tight end at time. That's why Trace Bruckler was kind of, put in those positions to be a little bit more comfortable, not just as a pass catching tight end, but as a run blocker. He spoke to us in the pressers not too long ago and said those are things that he's really good at, being on the line of scrimmage, getting dirty and playing physical and pass blocking and run blocking. So Trace Bruckler will be a guy that is going to be huge for those moments, but it starts with the run game for Ole Miss, and it's really going to be able to set the tone on how effective they are, not just in this first game, but throughout the whole season.
Yeah, you mentioned red zone offense. That's kind of the canary in the coal mine when it comes to the run game. If you are effective in the red zone running the ball, that means you're running the ball when the defense knows you need to run the football.
Right.
So that means it's probably more healthy than it was a year ago. I think the red zone, I need to see a package where Trinidad Chambliss gets used in the run game. I need to see him be the J.J. Pegues, him and Damian Taylor being the J.J. Pegues in this offense. Now, I know everybody wants Ole Miss just to line up in the I formation and run the ball like Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson, and all those guys. This offense is never going to work like that. Damian Taylor running out of the Wildcat, that will make sense for Ole Miss. But also Trinidad Chambliss on the field. Listen, I spoke with the Florida football scout, Brian Smith, Locked On's recruiting expert. He also does the Locked On Seminoles podcast, but he mentioned maybe Trinidad Chambliss and Austin Simmons in some sets, they line up on the field together. What do you think about that?
I definitely wouldn't see that as an impossible situation. From my perspective, I wasn't able to see those type of formations being used throughout fall camp so far. But in a creative mind, you never know what Lane Kiffin is thinking and what he has in his bag of tricks. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think Trinidad Chambliss has great size as a quarterback, moves really well. And throughout the fall camp, he was very effective in the red zone scrimmages that they played against the defense. And so he's a guy that definitely can make plays inside the 20-yard line. And I think will be very vital. You don't just bring a guy like that in for no reason unless you're going to utilize him in multiple situations if you're Ole Miss. And I think that's why Trinidad Chambliss was brought here, not to just only provide competition when did that quarterback room, but to be effective. I think Lane Kiffin noticed what the struggles were for this offense last year, and red zone struggles were, I'm sure, atop of that list for him. And he wanted to get better simply. And you're going to be able to do that when you have a little bit more creativeness, like a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss, like a goal line stand running back like Damian Taylor. And it's especially when you had to get a little bit more creative when at the moment it seems Ole Miss has a few injuries on that offensive line, and some guys that may not have been in these moments in their career so far will have to be on that offensive line week one. This is now the moment for Lane Kiffin and Charlie Wise Jr. to get a little creative, see what they have, see what they can utilize effectively to then create a lot of different options later on in the season when they get all their pieces back.
All right, when we come back, we will continue talking to Daylan about the quarterback position, but we'll also turn our attention over to the defensive backfield where we're not necessarily hearing that as a problem place anymore. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I do want to let you know about August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who love bold predictions and preseason hunches. Kind of sounds like the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, right? Guys, it is absolutely amazing. You can pick different things in the FanDuel NFL season predictions, whether you're calling an MVP, a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion even before week one kicks off. This is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. I'm all about Jaden Daniels putting up massive numbers this year for the Washington Commanders. Heck, crown your champion before August. I really like Buffalo here. Maybe it's the hard knocks going on right now. I don't know why, but I do. Or parlay your division winner dark horses. Hello, New Orleans or Miami, right? Visit FanDuel's app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills, they can take hours. Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in about 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours. So you can say confident and control when the moment is right. So if traditional options have not worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I like that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a ton of people feel more confident and present in the moment. So head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege, all one word, to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with a prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved, do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety. Much interesting stuff. Daylan, now, when you look at Austin Simmons, and this is going to be a big start for him, and I've done a show with, is this start going to look more like Eli Manning's debut, or is it going to look like Michael Spurlock's debut? And it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. But how do you expect the nerves to happen with Austin Simmons on Saturday?
I'm as someone that actually knows Austin and has been around him and knows his background. I'm not really concerned about the nerves. I think that he has been prepared for this moment. I think we saw that in the sequence of the Georgia drive last year and how prepared he was to come into such a, in a way, a game altering series and go down and end up scoring for Ole Miss that drive. I think it's just about controlling what you can control. If you're Austin Simmons, don't force things. Don't try to be Superman. Just be Austin Simmons and make the throws that you can make and that you worked on making. Know the coverages that the defense is playing, and be able to just be a leader out there on the field for your teammates. That's what they're going to need, and that's what Austin Simmons has the ability to already do. And I'm sure that he's been working on it throughout this offseason. His teammates speak very highly about him, not only just as a player, but as a person as well. But he's just going to have to go out there and be himself. I think that we've all seen his abilities, that they're really good, but then you go out there on the field and it's a different game. So I'm not concerned about his nervousness. I just think he needs to go out there, play his game, control the game, and have a little fun. At the end of the day, this is something that you're supposed to love to do. So go out there with a smile and just have the best fun you have this weekend.
And tomorrow's podcast is going to be about the front seven and the linebackers and all of that. So we'll just talk about the secondary right now. At the beginning of training camp, at the beginning of fall camp, you heard them pretty consistently admitting that the offensive line and the secondary are the two problem spots that you're watching and all of that stuff. You're not hearing about the secondary anymore. I think the back end of that defense in good shape. And if you look at the fact that Jalen Braxton has now been moved back to cornerback, I think they're in really good shape.
Yeah, it speaks on the versatility that was already within the roster, but as well, just the confidence that, Pete Golding put in the transfer players that he was able to acquire throughout the offseason. This secondary doesn't have to be great. They have to play their game and make the moments happen when they need to happen. I think the guys that are in front of them are really good and will be able to make a lot of opportunities come the secondary's way this season. Sage Ryan, again, SEC experience at LSU, will be really good, be really physical. And I was able to speak to him a few weeks ago. Just seems really comfortable in Oxford. So I think that's going to be a guy to obviously look out. And Pete Golding is really high on Kapena Gushiken. Versatile guy, really good open field tackler, very vocal leader as well. His teammates have spoken very highly about him throughout fall camp. Those are going to be the two, it looks like, guys that are going to be out there with the reassurance of TJ Banks as well. Over the next couple of weeks, you'll see him in addition to how good he really can be. I don't think Ole Miss fans truly understand how important TJ Banks can be for this defense. And I think he's kept quiet and kept a low profile throughout everything that's gone on over the last month. But I am really excited to see what he's going to be able to bring to the secondary, how excited he's going to be able to get back on this field. But they just have to take the games one game at a time, and just show a little bit of progression every weekend. They have the ability to be really, really good, and just trust their call. If they trust the call, then I think they're going to be just fine. But, a lot of things come into the point where how healthy can they stay throughout the season as well. I think that kind of put a little asterisk at times for Ole Miss last season, moving Jaden Kennedy in the secondary because of some injuries at time last year. If they're able to stay healthy, I think this Ole Miss secondary has the ability with, quick guys, athletic guys, bigger size guys, smaller guys to do different things and confuse opposing offenses, which will really bring into the totality of what Pete Golding wants to do is run that man sometimes, but also put a different type of zone coverage out there. But it's going to allow them to essentially be more aggressive on the run game and dropping downhill as well. So the secondary has really come up over the last 2 or 3 weeks of fall camp. Like you said, going into that first week, it was a lot of question marks. Who's going to be the guy? Who are these faces? Do they have enough to compete in the SEC week-to-week basis? Now it's a little bit more confidence. Now fans are a little bit more comfortable, and the coaching staff seem to be a little bit more comfortable with what they have as well. Guys have not only proven their abilities throughout fall camp, but they've gotten a little bit healthier throughout the couple weeks of fall camp. So this core may surprise a lot of people. They may surprise a lot of people. They seem really motivated mentally, and I think their physical abilities will also match what they're going to be able to do mentally as well throughout the season for Ole Miss.
All right, Daylan, what do you got going on at the Rebel Walk for game week, man?
Oh, we got a practice with the players tomorrow morning. So I'll be there covering stuff and just preparing, for the first official game this weekend. Super excited. Zach Moretha and I are hopefully going to get a podcast episode in ourselves to record and do a little preview as well. So just excited this game week, man. It's so good to have football back. I was able to watch some of the Iowa State, Kansas State game this past weekend. It was super fun just to see some college football on the TV, and it was a pretty good game to open up the season as well. So just fun time right now that everything's going back into full motion, man.
All right, so what do you got this weekend? Who's on upset alert?
Great question. You know what? I'm not going to – no, you know what? I think Virginia Tech may surprise a lot of people and may – push South Carolina to their limits. I think that Virginia Tech has an underrated team out there. I'm not going to say upset is going to happen, but I think Virginia Tech may push South Carolina to their limits. I think there's a lot of good games as well. Obviously, LSU and Clemson. We're going to watch Texas and Ohio State. There are quality games. I would love to see what Alabama looks like against Florida State. So there's some good SEC games on this weekend, and just excited that it's all back. But I definitely think Virginia Tech is going to give South Carolina a run for their money.
All right, Daylan, thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll talk to you next time, bud.
Take care.
Howdy toddy, man. All right, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast. We come up 80% of that page. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it's completely free. Your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes around college football. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you later.